Hello, this is your teacher Manish, and in our last two videos we got introduced to project management. We saw what project is, we saw what project management is, and we also went through the details of the constraints like scope, quality, cost and time. We also saw in last video what are the challenges in project management. In this video we are going to see how project management is a science and how project management is also an art. Okay, so for a project manager, he needs to be balanced in both the areas. Okay, so let us first see how project management is a science. So basically we all know that software development is an engineering activity, and when we say engineering activity, which means you have a methodology to develop a software, you follow a process, you have different phases through which you progress the development life cycle. So your progress starts right from the pre-development activities, then it comes to requirements capture, high-level design, low-level design, you code, unit test, system test, integration, you do user acceptance testing, and that's where finally you go and deploy a software. So there is a proper methodology, a proper process that gets followed, and every phase has got its own deliverables which act as an input to the phase following it. So for example, the requirements phase would give kind of birth to use cases or user stories or requirement specifications document, which is used as an input by designers to develop a high-level design, and then comes a low-level design based on what technology you're going to use, whether it's going to be a Java or a C++ code. So finally, each phase gives the output which is used as an input by the subsequent phase, and management is nothing but managing this entire end-to-end. So a software project manager needs to ensure that he measures these phases, he monitors these phases, every output of these phases undergo through some quality gates to ensure that it is up to the mark, it follows relevant standard. Okay, so obviously this becomes a process, and it's a part of science. Okay, so next is estimation. We all know, and we have been discussing in previous video as well, how and why estimation is important. Again, estimation is nothing but sizing the software. Okay, and it's a very critical activity. Based on the sizing, you can estimate what efforts are required to build that software. Okay, unless if you are not able to size it, it becomes very difficult to exactly estimate what are the efforts required. And sizing is again, there are methodologies. You can size it based on function point analysis, you can size it based on Docomo method, okay, Delphi. So there are different kind of methodologies based on which you can size a software and estimate how much efforts are required. And once you estimate the efforts, you can break down the efforts into design, development, test, and kind of ensure that you make resources available to progress the life cycle. So estimation again becomes a process, a methodology which needs to be followed in order to size the software, and it's very much a part of I would say a science or scientific wing. Okay, third is planning. Planning is one of the most important aspects in software project management, where you actually lay down the strategy. Basically, in this activity, you decide how you want to kind of do the entire development, what are things that are required to do the development, and basically how are you going to make those things available to progress the development. Planning doesn't talk about exactly what is going to be inside the software. Okay, it doesn't talk about what design I'm going to do. It doesn't talk about what code or how I am going to code, but it will basically talk about the strategy. It will basically talk about the environments. It will basically talk about the availability of infrastructure. Okay, so it will talk about the tools that are required, okay, to develop, to progress the development. Okay, so all those tools, resources, skills, knowledge that are required to do a development or progress the development will come under planning. Planning will also have a part called scheduling, where you actually go and lay down the schedule. Okay, so again, you can use number of tools to do scheduling. Microsoft Project is one of them, where you do scheduling, and once you put a plan in place, as a part of project management activity, you need to go on tracking the plan as the activities progress. Okay, hence it's measuring, it's tracking, it's ensuring that the progress is done. Once the measurement is done, it's comparing the measures that are expected versus what you are getting, and then putting the controls in place such that, or putting the improvements in place such that going forward the measurements get improved or the readings get improved. Okay, so that's basically planning, and hence again it's a very technical activity, and it involves lots of understanding of the overall process, understanding of what is expected and how that expectations are going to be fulfilled. Okay, hence planning is also a science. Now, baselining and change control. Again, one of the very important aspect where we need to actually do the version control of the elements that gets produced in the life cycle of software development. So, as mentioned earlier, software development life cycle comprises of different phases, and every phase has got the output, or every phase produces the output which is used as an input by next phase. Now all the output of each phases needs to be version control. So you version control all requirement documents, you version control all designs, you version control all test plans and test specifications. Test specification comprises of test cases, and these one has to version control all these deliverables. Apart from that, you also have to version control actual software elements. So you need to identify what are the software elements that you are going to develop. So if it's a class, it's a Java class or something else, you need to actually version control it. So it comprises of huge amount of keeping the record of versions as we progress through the life cycle. And this is done through proper configuration management tools as well. Okay, so we will be in later videos going through the details of what configuration management is. But of course, baselining and change control is also a science. One of the another important aspect is risk management. Again, as a part of software project management, the team needs to anticipate what could be the probable risks that might come within the software development life cycle, which would jeopardize my timeline and quality, which will obviously delay my overall delivery or increase the cost. Okay, so each and every risk which gets identified needs to be managed, which means you have to actually record the risk, you need to identify the risk, you need to put a mitigation plan in place. So what's mitigation plan? Mitigation plan is nothing but efforts, or probably what actions you are going to take in order to minimize that risk or neutralize that risk whenever it occurs. Okay, so again, it's the risk register which you are going to maintain. It's a record keeping activity. Okay, and accordingly go on tracking and progressing as we go through the development life cycle. So if you see all these activities actually involve huge amount of monitoring, controlling, tracking, keeping records, and obviously we use lot of tools as we progress. Okay, and hence it becomes very much a part of science where one needs to do a lot of number crunching, probably a lot of understanding of technology tools. So it's more of a dealing with engineering and technology, which is obviously a stream of science. Okay, now let us understand why project management is arts. Okay, so of course when it comes to project manager, he needs or he deals with lots of people, he deals with lots of suppliers, lots of vendors, and as I said in my previous video, there might be a multi-party or number of parties involved in overall development of software. Okay, so project management activity, one of the key things is ensuring that team building happens, ensuring that everybody works together. Okay, so which is a very soft activity. Dealing with people is a soft activity. There is a difference between how you deal with technology and how you deal with people. And we have already seen that software is nothing but a brain product, and when it comes to many brains working together to deliver a software product, it becomes all the more chaos. And if those brains are working for different companies or different parties, and if they are geographically sitting across world at different locations, coming with different cultures, you can imagine how muddy it could be. And hence this is an art, and not everybody is good in that. Okay, second is, of course, we know if you require intelligence over here, you require emotional intelligence over here. If you need an IQ, intelligent question, to be high here, you need an EQ, which is emotional question, to be high in this area. And hence, and of course, emotional intelligence means actually, being sensitive, understanding what are the needs of the other people, or getting into the shoes of other person and really understanding his pain. And project management, one of the key aspects is really understanding that, and that's only when a project manager can resolve the issues faced by different people. Okay, interpersonal skills, of course, all this is interconnected to each other. Team building, emotional intelligence, interpersonal skills. Okay, conflict resolution and negotiation, very, very important, because when it comes to different parties, okay, when it comes to different vendors, everybody is trying to kind of safeguard their interest. Everybody is kind of trying to ensure that how they are going to be covered in the overall contract that they sign with customer. Okay, and that's where the conflicts start. And when the conflicts start, it is going to put project down. And as a project management activity, it is very, very important to ensure that the goals which are laid down for projects are expected to be made within the timeline and in quality. And hence conflict resolution needs to be happened timely, and one has to ensure that it's win-win for everybody. Okay, negotiations in today's world are there at every moment. It starts right from your bidding process, when you're actually negotiating on scope, negotiating on price, till you deploy. You come across numerous occasions where you have to negotiate with customer, where you have to negotiate with your internal management, where you have to negotiate with the management of your partners or vendors, where you have to negotiate with costs, price, timeline. So conflict resolution and negotiations is one of the most important aspects. Again, if you really see team building, emotional intelligence, interpersonal skills, conflict resolution and negotiations, all are kind of interconnected with each other. Okay, and they again are part of, very much part of the arts. Okay, it all depends upon the individual who is playing that role of project manager to be very, very sound in this area. Okay, and last but not least, mentoring and coaching, absolutely important, because project manager or project management, one of the important activities to ensure that they stand up as a mentor. They coach the individual team members. The team members can be very, very inexperienced people with having few months or years of experience to probably very experienced individuals. Okay, and there needs to be mentoring and coaching activity that needs to happen, and it's very much art. Okay, so you can say so that project management is a science and art. And third, and which is most important, which I have actually not listed here, which I feel project management is also a business leadership. Okay, which is very, very important in today's world, and I will tell you why it is to be pursued as business leadership as well. Because every project manager needs to be customer focused and needs to know how to manage the customer. Okay, so customer management is very, very important. Apart from that, which very few people actually have that skills, is commercially literate or commercially savvy or cost savvy. Very, very important, because if you want to do profits out of your overall development, you need to track your cost meticulously, and project manager needs to be commercially savvy. Okay, he or she has to ensure that margins are made. Okay, and these are the two things which I feel makes him business leader as well. Okay, so these are some of the points which I wanted to explain with you. If you like whatever I have mentioned in this video, do press the like and share the video. And in our next video, I am going to talk about life cycle of a project. So till then, bye.